Hello, everyone. So, show of hands. How many people in here would maybe like to launch a startup or a business one day? Oh, okay. Good amount of people. Love it. Well, in 2022, I made the brilliant decision to leave a high-paying, prestigious career to launch my very first startup. My parents were so proud. Freshly 40 and full of life as a working mom of 2 children under the age of 3, I was in the perfect position to do it. Not only that, but I had management consulting experience. I knew strategy, I knew operations, but most importantly, I knew how to make a killer PowerPoint deck. And I had identified a problem worth solving, a challenge that so many people wrestle with. And if anyone understood the challenges of postpartum working moms, it was me. Surely, the world was just waiting for my genius. So, I started telling people about it, and I started trying to sell it. And that's when I learned something gut-wrenching, something that no amount of Excel modeling could have prepared me for. Nobody cared. But like with all painful, ego-crushing experiences, there are lessons to be had. So if you're thinking about launching a business one day, I have 5 lessons that I'm going to share with you today that I hope you find helpful. Let's get started. Lesson number 1. Your kids, your friends, your family, they don't care about your startup. So when I was thinking about what to name my business, I thought, what better way to honor my family than to name my company after my daughter, who happens to be named after my mom. So I named it Josie. There she is with her big brother Theo. Seemed cute, right? Only, and Josie couldn't care less. In fact, she says to me all the time, and I quote, "Mom, I hate it when you work." So much for branding. So there was something that I noticed in those early days of launching a business. When you care about something so much, when you're so passionate about something, you can very easily start to blur the lines between what you do and who you are. There's this sense that if your business isn't succeeding, then you're not succeeding as a person. And when those closest to you that love you the most just don't seem all that invested, it can sting. It's like you're trying to tell them about this amazing thing that you're building. And they just kind of don't care. They got their own lives and they kind of want to hang out with you, or in my case, build a Lego tower. So here's the real lesson. Their indifference is actually a gift. You see, it's this wonderful reminder that your worth isn't tied to your startup success. You are more than your startup. You see, your kids and your friends aren't going to remember how many users you onboarded today, but they are going to remember if you were present in the moments that matter. And funny enough, when you realize this, you actually become a better founder. You stop trying to prove something to your family and your friends. You stop trying to seek constant validation. And that gives you the freedom to actually focus on what matters most, on the most meaningful parts of what you're building. So remember, your worth isn't tied to your startup success. And let's be honest, no matter what you do, your kids still aren't going to care. Lesson number 2. Buyers. They don't care about your startup. What they care about are their problems, their challenges. Let me explain. When I first went to market with Josie, I created the prettiest pitch deck. This thing was flawless. It was a work of art. It was chock full of data and research and our amazing pilot results. In other words, it was chock full of things that I cared about, not what anybody else did. You see, being a consultant had kind of trained my brain to execute on things in a certain way. You jam-pack a presentation with as much information as possible, with graphs and analytics and your expertise. And that was the key to a successful client meeting. And don't get me wrong, there's totally value in that. But when you're going to market with something new that no one's ever heard of before, it doesn't really work. Turns out buyers don't care about your latest product features. They care about their own pain points and the easiest and quickest ways to solve them. And you're not going to know what those are unless you ask. In those early meetings, I'd go on and on about our 3 product lines and how we were going to completely change the way they're able to retain and engage their super talented employees going out on parental leave. And I would watch their eyes glaze over. You see, what I should have been doing in those early days is listening more, speaking less, and nobody wanted to see my 30-page PowerPoint deck. If I had done it that way, I would give them more room to talk about them, their challenges. I could then empathize with those struggles, and then, and only then, be able to offer something useful in return. And the funny part is, once you start doing that, once you start building a relationship based on trust, that's exactly when they start to ask you about what you've built. That's exactly when they start to care. So when you go to market, listen more, speak less, ditch the PowerPoint, but you should have it just in case they ask for it in follow-up. Lesson number 3. The internet. They don't care about your startup. So I'm not a marketer, and social media, the wild, wild west. Totally intimidating to me. In the early days of launching Josie, my team would push me. They say, Michelle, put yourself out there. Tell your story. Share your perspective, your why. It's important. People need to hear it. And I said, no. Josie's bigger than me. It's bigger than just one person. But if I'm being honest, I was just terrified of being judged. I was terrified of what people thought of me. I didn't want to put my story out there. So I posted very neutral things. I talked about a partnership we had just launched, or we were mentioned in an industry article. Very professional, very polished, very boring. And to no one's surprise, crickets. Very little engagement. You see, when it comes to the internet, people don't care about your latest glowing client testimonial or the fact that you just signed a contract with a brand that is really cool and you've been courting them for the last 18 months. No, they don't care about that. When it comes to the internet, they care about 2 things. They want to be educated or they want to be entertained. They want to learn something new or they want to feel something. You want to evoke emotion. People want to feel seen. People want to feel heard. Case in point. One of my LinkedIn posts that recently got the most engagement was my honest telling of the bajillion thoughts that ran through my head in a span of 20 minutes when I went to my daughter's dumpling making party on a Tuesday morning. I talked about how hard it was to be present, how guilty I felt. Here's a few examples of some of the thoughts I listed out. Did I answer that one email? I answered it last night, right? Is someone from my team slacking me right now? I want to check Slack so bad. No, be present, Michelle. You said you'd be present. Did the teacher just say something to me? I don't think I heard her. I kind of want to go home now. Is it bad that I want to go home? I should be enjoying this, right? People loved it because they could see themselves in it. They could relate to the struggles that so many working parents struggle with every single day. You see, when I started talking less about Josie, and I started to talk about the real challenges that I experienced as a working mom, that's exactly when people started to engage. And funny enough, that's exactly when they started to care about what we were building. So here's the real lesson. People don't buy products, they buy stories. And the best stories are the ones in which we see ourselves in them. Lesson number 4, your competition doesn't care about your startup. And you shouldn't care about them either. Well, don't get me wrong, you should know what they're doing, please do. But let me explain. I've seen too many brilliant people with amazing ideas not move forward because there's too much competition. I get it, I was one of those people. In the early days before launching the company, I'd look at competitor websites and I'd say, wow, look at those logos. Look at their founder, they're 40 under 40, and here I am, well, over 40. You see, it can be easy to just get discouraged when you start to compare yourself to someone else's perceived progress. But there's something that my amazing co-founder, Allison, always likes to remind me of. She says, Michelle, if this problem had already been solved, you wouldn't have had the meltdown that led to us wanting to start Josie in the first place. And she's right. You see, innovation doesn't always have to be about building something completely new. It can be about reaching untapped markets. It can be about stitching together things in a new or unique or different way that resonates with audiences that maybe haven't been reached yet. It actually reminds me of a Chinese proverb that my mom used to say to me growing up. In Mandarin, it goes like this: 山中没老虎，猴子做大王. In English, it translates to, on the mountain where there are no tigers, the monkey is king. Now, as an aside, she did not mean this as a compliment to me. My mom would say this whenever I made a sports team or I was the top of my class. She was essentially saying, yeah, you're only there because the competition is weak, Michelle. But self-deprecation aside, there's actually a really important lesson in there for founders, right? Play where the tigers aren't, right? Because that's where the unmet needs are. That's where your talents are needed the most. Not because it's easier, but because it's harder. So, the real lesson here, stop obsessing over your competitors. Focus on the unmet needs. All right, let's bring this home. I just spent the last 10 minutes or so telling you guys that pretty much the world doesn't care about your startup. But here's the lesson number 5. You have to care about your startup. So a lot of people will come to me for advice about launching a business. What was your journey like, Michelle? Tell me how I can do this. And they're so excited about starting something new, about being in charge. But when I ask them, well, okay, what's the problem that you're dying to solve? And they don't have a good answer for me. Here's the hard truth. If you don't care deeply about the problem that you're running at, that you're trying to fix, you're not going to get very far. Because make no mistake, becoming a founder will consume you. It'll take over every fiber of your being. And if you don't care deeply about it, you're not going to have the stamina to push through the hard days. And there will be so many hard days. So find a problem that lights a fire under you. Find something that you care about deeply. Because if you don't, then why would anyone else? Thank you all for your time today. I hope that this 40-something founder gave you something useful or something that made you laugh at least. I'll leave you with this one final thought. If you're thinking about launching a business one day, find a problem that you care so much about that you believe that if you worked on it, the world would be just a little bit better. And recognize that at least in the beginning, other people just aren't going to care, at least not as much as you do. And that's okay. It should never be about making anyone else care. And it should always be about knowing yourself and what you care about, what matters to you. Because if you do that, one day, they will care. And when they do, that's when everything changes. Thank you.